Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gunpowder and Freedom. So now we are on to part 3. We're a little bit behind in our video. I thought I was going to be able to get the sealing on part 2. However, if you watched part 2, you saw that video was clocking in at about 31 minutes. So I didn't really want to put this on there, have you guys get bored and see probably one of the coolest parts of any concrete job ever, and that's the sealing process. Whether it's a decorative patio, decorative porch, or countertops, whenever we add the sealer, that's when all of the color gets pulled out. You can see all the details, all the differences in color variation, the definition, stuff like that. So this is a really, really cool part. It's probably one of my favorite parts, and I'm going to go ahead and walk you guys through it so that if you want to try it at home, you'll kind of have a good idea on what to do. So I'm going to get the camera set up and get going. So for the type of sealer we're going to be using today, you're going to need a few things. Number one, you're obviously going to need your countertops. You're going to need your sealer, which is our Polyester Sealer. It's made by Brickform. We get it from AR Chambers in Pittsburgh. This is a very durable epoxy sealer. The only issue I have with this is that there isn't a UV protectant, which means you don't use this outside. If there's going to be a lot of sunlight hitting it, it doesn't have a UV protectant that is going to protect it from the sun. That'll turn it all yellow. It'll make it look really ugly. So this is for interior use only, but it is a very good high strength epoxy sealer that bonds very well. Next, you're going to need a good mixing cup. So I got 2 of them here because I usually end up doing 2 coats. Make sure they are either brand spanking new or they are extremely clean. You'll need a roller like so, and that is for these roller sleeves. These are the high density foam rollers for smooth surfaces. It says for doors and cabinets, but we like to use them for our epoxy sealer. And last but not least, oh boy, just had them. Oh, right over here. You're going to need a bunch of these. Nope, not gloves. Well, yeah, use gloves because it helps for these, but the Tack Rags. These pick up a lot of dust that has gathered on the countertops as it was drying, people walking past. So I usually will wipe the entire countertop surface down with these, mix up the sealer, and then let the sealer set and wipe these down again, and then mix up the sealer one last time, and then they're good to seal. Okay, so with the Polyester Sealer, you're going to have an A component and a B component. The A component is going to be your epoxy-based component, and the B component is going to be the hardening component. How many more times can I say component? This stuff gets mixed at a 1-to-1 ratio, so usually what I do is I'll go by the ounces. I like to mix a little bit more than what I think I'm going to need, so we're probably going to go with about 16 ounces. So we'll go 8 ounces of part A, 8 ounces of part B, and we'll be at our lucky number 16. Perfect. Pop that back on like so. And now what I do is I'll take one of my foam rollers straight out of the bag so I know it's good and clean. Pop it on there, and then just give it a nice consistent mix. Don't want any of that falling in. You want to make sure these 2 parts are mixed up very well. You don't want to shake it because that's going to put too much air into the sealer, and you'll end up with an excess amount of air bubbles. So you just want to do nice consistent stirs. With this sealer, I like to just dump a little on at a time. And then you want to roll it around nice and even. This sealer is very thick, so it doesn't settle like a lot of water-based sealers do. So you want to make sure you minimize any sort of heavier areas. That way you don't end up with just bumps of sealer everywhere. I try to work it a couple different ways. Then it is expensive, so I don't like to just roll it off the edge. And I try to limit the amount that I reach over. Again, I don't want any dirt or anything falling off the sleeve of my shirt. Alright everybody, there's the first coat of sealer. We did the face, we did the top on both ends. Everything looks nice and even. Now I don't like to put this stuff on too thick because I don't like to waste it. It's so expensive that I just have a very hard time dumping it on like a lot of people do. So what I choose to do is I'll do one coat and then tomorrow morning I'll come up and sand them down. You know, any little air bubbles or anything that are in there will knock down, and then I put a second coat on usually tomorrow afternoon after all the dust settles. Hey, good morning everybody. Welcome back to Gunpowder and Freedom. We're up here at the shop. Yesterday afternoon, sorry, it's like 5:30 in the morning. Yesterday we were up here, we did the first coat of sealer. So I came up this morning before work to give these countertops a quick sanding so that whenever I get home from work, they're going to be ready for sealer coat number 2. So here's what they look like after the first coat of sealer. Real nice and shiny. You can see all the definition and the colors there. You know, we have some lighter grays up here from the cream coat, but then where we sprinkled the black on, excuse me, where we sprinkled the black on and worked it around, we have some variations in darker grays and blacks. So I think we got a nice overall finish here. Just a couple little air bubbles that didn't quite settle out. I've tried in the past hitting this sealer with a heat gun. I've seen people do that with regular epoxy, and it seems to take the air bubbles out, but it wasn't really working for me. I think I'm putting it on too thin for that, but this is the way that works for me. If you find a different way that works for you, awesome, but this is the way that works for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and, like I said, give these a quick sand so that later on today, any dust that gets kicked up from sanding, it'll all be settled. We can give these countertops another cleaning and another coat of sealer, and they'll be ready for buffing tomorrow morning. Okay, so basically all I do for this is take a piece of 220 sandpaper. You don't need anything super abrasive. You don't want to rip the top open. Basically, all we're looking to do is knock down any of these little air bubbles. We want to knock the tops off and scuff the rest of the countertop up. That way our second coat of sealer has a lot of room to bind to that first coat of sealer, so you don't have any sealer that wants to lift off. So just, you know, little circles, consistent pressure. That's basically it. And sometimes this is a little bit stubborn. Okay guys, it's Friday afternoon. We just got done working, got back to the shop. Countertops are still looking good. I mean, nothing changed on them. We sanded them this morning. Doesn't really look like there's any dust on it. The sealing process this time is the same as the first time. Wipe them down, mix the sealer up, wipe them down again, remix the sealer, and you're good to go. So if you saw that the first time, great. I'm gonna just kind of get everything set up and get going. So, yep. Okay guys, that is it. We got 2 coats of sealer on, and 99 times out of 100, 2 coats of sealer is plenty. There was, I think, one time where I had to do a 3rd coat, but that was for reasons out of my control. Someone was messing around in the garage, not knowing I just sealed countertops, kicked up a bunch of dust. No harm, no harm, no foul. I think that's the saying. So we're going to let this dry overnight. We'll be back up here tomorrow to use our buffer to buff and polish the surface. And then after that, And that should only take probably an hour or so. After that, just a couple coats of wax and these suckers are ready for install. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good morning, everybody. It is 5 o'clock in the morning and we're up here at the garage to do the final cutting and polishing on the sealer on the countertop so that we can get them waxed and ready for install. I woke up at like 4 this morning, couldn't fall back asleep, so I figured, what the heck, I'll come up here and do this. So we are gonna get our buffer with, I believe that's the polishing pad on it. And then we're gonna use our finish cut compound and then our polishing compound and give these countertops a really nice glass smooth finish. What this is going to do is it's going to take any little imperfections that are in your sealer out. It's going to, like I just said, it's going to make these things smooth as glass. I'll explain it as we go, but I'm trying not to be too lengthy, so I'm going to get the camera set up and we'll get going. Okay, so the first thing, I am going to wear an apron today because I do have a nice hoodie on. Well, not nice, but a good hoodie, not a work hoodie. So I don't want to get any of the polishing or cutting compound on it, because sometimes if you have an excess amount of your compound, it will kind of fling off your pad as you're polishing. We have our polisher on, well, plugged in, sorry, early. All you need for this is probably 6 or 7 just globs of your compound. You don't want to get too much on it. Okay, a little more than 6 or 7, but you get the point. And then what I do is I've seen people that'll just start, going. I've seen people, just kind of take their splotches and put it on there. Like you just saw, I put my cutting compound on the pad. And then just kind of dab your polisher, your buffer in a couple spots. That way you don't get a whole lot of compound built up in one spot. And now you just kind of go light, even pressure. You keep your polisher on a medium setting. You don't want it to go too fast, but you don't want it to go too slow. We're actually going to turn this down a bit, probably like a 4. And yeah, you just kind of let it do the work. And you don't want to hold it in one spot either. You want to keep your polisher moving. And I move the polisher over half a pad width each time. right, that's done. We'll wipe that off and then switch this pad over. Now it's going to be the same thing with the polishing. You have your you do actually have a polishing pad and a cutting pad. You don't want to mix those two up. They are different densities. It will affect your finish if you use the wrong pad. Same thing, just a few globs. Hey-o. Handle let loose on me. With your polishing compound, you want higher RPMs. So turn that pretty much all the way up. Okay guys, now that our buffing and polishing is done, we're going to go ahead and add our wax. Now a very common question I get is, how often do I need to reseal my concrete countertops? Well, in theory, never. As long as it's just like anything, as long as the proper maintenance is done, you really shouldn't ever have to reseal them. The wax is what is going to need redone. We used our Polyester Sealer, which is a very, very durable sealer. It's very long lasting. Before these countertops leave, we usually do probably 3 to 4 coats of wax, and that'll get the countertops through the first 2 years maybe. Now we do recommend that once a year you re-wax them, and it's a very simple process. I do it a little bit different here at the shop, and I'll show you here in this next step. But you know, for countertops that are already installed, typically what we do is we'll just go in, dump a little bit of wax on, and wipe it on. Pretty plain and simple. Like I said, I do it a little different here at the shop. I'll show you that here. But yeah, the only maintenance that should need done on these is just a simple re-wax. You can clean them with pretty much any product you have under your sink. Windex, Clorox, Lysol, pretty much whatever you guys have underneath your sink is good to clean these. They're not porous anymore. You know, the concrete itself has been polished down to no pores being left open to hold moisture. The sealer is another sealer that it's not porous at all, so liquids tend to not stain it. My personal countertops, I've left spaghetti sauce on them, lemon juice, lime juice, alcohol. I've left coffee as another thing that stains. I've left all that stuff on my countertops overnight. Woke up the next morning, cleaned them off, and they've been good to go. So provided you take care of the wax, the sealer is going to remain intact, and the sealer will protect the Keller as well as the top of your concrete countertops. So I'll show you the wax right now. So this is the wax we use. It's made by another product made by Brickform. They call it Premium Acrylic Floor Finish. It used to be called one thing, and then it was called Dura Wax, and then it was called Countertop Wax, and now it's called Floor Finish. I don't know why they keep changing the name, but they do. It's the same product. It works as good now as the day we started using it, so we will continue to use it. Now basically, this stuff's pretty easy to work with. I prefer to roll it on. Some people will say wipe it on. I like rolling it on. I think it goes on a little bit more even. So basically you just dump a little bit like that on. Put the cap on. And then just roll it on. Now my roller might have soaked up a little bit more than I was anticipating. So that's all right though. I think I'm going to put a little bit more on. I bet you're wondering, well, Steve, you have all these air bubbles now. Oh, don't you worry about that. Now what we do, put that somewhere clean, come over here and get our heat gun. And you don't need to use, you don't need to use an excess amount of heat. But this just takes those air bubbles right out. Voila. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this morning. We're going to come up later on this afternoon and do another coat of wax. Like I said, you want to make sure that wax is nice and cured before you try doing a second or third coat. Otherwise, it'll get real chunky. But for now, I mean, these things are looking sharp. I'm half tempted to send you guys all a bunch of safety glasses so you don't get caught looking at these things. Jokes at 5:30 in the morning. It's probably 6 now. But yeah, so that was our morning. Now the rest of the day is free. So yeah, thank you guys for getting up this early with me and checking out this part of the process. This part is very, very important because this is what protects, the wax protects the sealer, sealer protects the concrete. So yeah, we're going to get 3 or 4 more coats of wax on before these leave the shop, and yeah, install should be in the next day or so. So thank you guys again for tuning into another episode of Gunpowder and Freedom. If you liked what you saw, please click the like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.